Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, where we explore and celebrate the craft beer industry, community, and history in Tacoma, Washington, and surrounding Pacific Northwest areas. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast. My name is Matt McLaren. I'm here with Ron Swarner.
Hello.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Very good.
Happy Tacoma Beer Week.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, this is a special Tacoma Beer Week episode. We'll talk all about that. Sean Jackson is back from his 1 week hiatus.
Yeah, I'm in the house. Boner and nips a blasting today. It's a good
Perfect.
one. Yeah.
I can't wait to discuss all of those.
I will cut all your glass.
Those three things. Off we go. So like Ron said, it's Tacoma Beer Week. Happy Tacoma Beer Week. This will be kind of a fun special episode because we have an awesome guest that we've all been super stoked to talk to for a good minute here. So before we introduce him, we talked about kind of where the podcast idea came from, and a huge chunk of it was that Sean wanted to bring some of the old guard in the industry, the dudes who have been hugely impactful in Washington beer and Tacoma beer in a lot of ways, bring them here and sit them in this room and just fucking talk to them and hear the story. And when we first kind of were talking about that idea, doing an event like that, we were just like, hey, why don't we just mic these guys up? And
This is the fuck tally.
Oh, perfect. I didn't know we were doing that. I will contribute as best I can. So yeah, that was the whole thing. And this guy came up fucking immediately when Sean had this idea. So Sean, who are we talking to today, man?
We're talking to Colin from Holy Mountain.
Yay!
Hi, everybody. Yeah. And Colin has how he came into business is really fantastic and really near and dear to some of us kids in Tacoma because, yeah, we got to play with him a lot. But
Well, thanks. I'm never really thought of myself as old guard, but I guess I am now, huh?
yeah, you're at that age.
Yeah, I'm at that age.
I tried to separate it.
I started thinking about the
Time for a midlife beer crisis.
Yeah.
And
I meant old
my
guard
affairs in
and
order.
or the people.
Although, weren't you writing for Seattle Beer in 2009? The Seattle.
Jeff Kaiser's blog?
Yeah.
Yeah, I helped him out from time to time when he needed you know.
I ran in a
was on
couple of those
vacation,
articles.
but yeah, it was.
Way to dig up old shit, Ron.
That was my foray into journalism.
Yeah.
So.
What took you the other way? The beer way.
Oh boy. Well, a lot of things. Well, I was an automotive mechanic for, I don't know, since I was probably 17 or 18 years old. And just by chance, I ended up meeting Alejandro Brown, who opened Big Al Brewing through some mutual friends. He was in the automotive industry as well. And we started getting invited to some of his homebrew sessions, which he did every Sunday. Guy was hardcore back then. And we just started brewing together, making beer. He hatched an idea to come up with the brewery. It just was sort of this gradual progression of organic growth. So kind of gave me the idea to start thinking about doing my own thing. And yeah.
Dude, before I forget.
But lots of home brewing though.
I meant to ask, what are you drinking? You can defer to Sean because I know he got your beer.
Well, one is the fast fashion Pilsner, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tasty, really good, nice and crisp. And then our barrel aged Doppelsticker that we made for Donovan Stewart at Engine House 9.
yeah.
Yep.
Good old Don.
Second use bourbon barrels, but it just kind of, you still get the nice sort of malty sweetness of it, but it's not over the top bourbon barrel. It's just kind of a little kiss.
And an incredibly rare style too. I mean,
Yeah. Yep.
And barley wine adjacent.
Yeah.
As long as Don's happy with it, then I'm happy with it. So, yeah.
Sean, why? This isn't coming out for a couple days, but why is there a fast fashion and a Holy Mountain beer on tap at Parkway right now?
So it's Holy Trinity night. And in the past, so it's always E9 and Holy Mountain. In the past, the Cloudburst kids have joined us, but they got a little rough and behind schedule and couldn't make it. So actually, old Donnie Lama himself kind of got the fast fashion kids online. He's like, hey, I know these guys. They like to party.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's like,
Still very much a
we're
holy
going to get
trinity.
along fine then. This is going to be outstanding. So, yeah, and it's the, we do a lot of events here, but this is the one event of the year where I don't work behind the bar. Like, I am here to hang with my friends and get fucking lit. So
On really good beer.
yeah.
So if you're hearing this Friday and you missed Holy Trinity Night at Parkway, sucks to be you. But next week, I'm kidding. Next year, absolutely look out for that event during Tacoma Beer Week because it's fucking
Something
awesome.
we always look forward to.
Yeah,
every year.
hell yeah.
Yep.
Sean, what do you have? You have Doppelsticky too, right?
I went with the CQ Bourbon Barrel Aged Barley Wine, circa 2020 from those kids at Engine House 9.
Should have known.
And then Holy Mountain 3 Fates Pills.
Good choice.
I thought so.
So I'm
Got my
also
yang,
drinking
got my
Collins
yang.
beer.
So am I.
I'm ready.
Okay, so we're all drinking Collins beer.
Yeah.
I'm drinking this Sentience.
We usually like the Trinity events usually bat for the cycle, don't you? Don't you usually try every
the
beer
list?
on
Yeah.
tap? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. No doubt in my mind.
The night is young.
No doubt
That
in my
is
mind.
young.
Yeah.
I'm sure I haven't lost a step or anything. I still got it. I drank a glass of water. So
Congratulations,
yeah,
Sean.
I'm pretty much ready.
Yep.
I'm happy to hear you're finally taking care of yourself.
Yeah, you get to a certain age.
Not much
Really
of a
gotta
choice.
All right, we were talking about Big Al's, which
Yep.
is, yeah. So,
Currently, it's Future Primitive. If any of you guys have been there,
that's right.
Originally, it was Pacific Rim Brewing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. Charles McKelvey, the first American to ever graduate a German brewing school back in the 50s.
Holy shit.
Former brewmaster at Rainier Brewing forever. Started what could be argued as one of the first craft breweries in Seattle. It
Rim.
actually started out as Alki Brewing, I think, and then turned into Pacific Rim. So
Interesting.
I haven't talked to him in a while. I think he's still with us. Very sharp guy, even when I saw him a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But Alejandro was able to take over the lease after Charlie had sold it to another brewery, and then Alejandro took it over and kind of made some improvements, but still very rugged, I guess you could say,
Sure.
in there. The mash tun was a open top mash tun, no manways or anything like that. So you would have to, when you grained out, you would have to shovel a spot for yourself inside the mash tun.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
And then shovel into garbage cans around it. And luckily, I was not one of them, but there was many brewers that left because of back issues. So it's like the absolute worst motion you can make to lift something. But it was the place made beer. It made pretty good beer, but lots of constant repairs of stuff and working on shit, just like anywhere else, I guess. But
Sure. Every brewery has its quirks.
it definitely has its quirks. But yeah, great place to. Was a great place.
So,
Still a great place.
And
of history.
on our ceiling here, we've got a Big Al handle that says local hero on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, back to that getting a little older, you won multiple times?
I think I did. I think I just did local hero with Al once, which is where he would pick a beer from a homebrew competition and decide to brew it on the scale it up or whatever. And I think I did one with him. There's a couple other. God, was that JBF category? I don't know. There was a couple other back in the day. I can't remember what it was.
I felt like, because the thing I remember was you were hitting it with styles. I couldn't remember if it was English mild or cream ale.
I think I did. I did. I really honed in on the mild category.
Yeah.
For a couple reasons. One, a lot of people didn't do them, and I knew I could win a gold medal out of it.
Fuck yeah.
And second of all, yeah, exactly. And then also, I just loved. I was like intrigued by the style when I'd read about it. Like I'd never actually had one. I finally had one when I was a little older, and I traveled over to the UK. But I was just intrigued by this like rich malty beer that's only 3.5%, 3%.
Yeah.
And you could drink like all night long. So
It's still
thought
hard
I'd make
to
a
find
go
good
at it.
examples of that beer too.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
It's still very despite being
Yeah.
delicious and
Yeah.
super fucking food friendly.
Yep.
Like there's not a lot of like really nice examples.
yeah, I mean Bill at Machine House.
For sure.
That's
For
his.
sure.
That's he's king of the milds.
Yep.
He just did what's the event that he just did up there with Ron Pattison?
So
I think it was.
They
They drew-
released. They collabed on a couple of historic
Yeah,
beers.
yeah.
So the Albany and the Suffolk.
Yep.
Like recipes that were recovered from like
Yep.
burned fucking recipe books.
Yep,
And
yep.
they Pattinson is a beer historian.
Yep.
And so they collabed, got these recipes together, and he translated it to his system and brewed these recipes from 100+ years ago.
Yeah, it's super
Yeah.
cool.
They're fucking awesome.
Yeah, yeah. But I think they
Like-
bottled them too, right?
They
So
did,
they're-
yeah, yeah.
I need to go get a hold of a couple of those.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. If you guys see any bottles, they say Albany and Suffolk on them.
Okay.
And they don't look like the normal Machine House bottles, and they have the dates 1904 and I think like 1890 something. But yeah, that's the year that the recipe was initially published, and it's like the original recipe. It's
Right,
Super
yeah.
cool, man.
Yeah,
Such a
that's
cool collab.
Yep. And I love it, like going to Machine House. I know you guys have been in there before, but
yeah.
it's just such a simple and awesome operation that makes like amazing beer. So I think it kind of like going back to Big Al back in the day. Like you don't have to have state of the art automation and equipment to make good beer.
Nope.
As Sean knows very well. That's another good example.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think it came up in the Shane episode, but the equipment at E9. One thing that's just you almost never see, the manways, the lids on our fermenter open outwards, and if you don't know this, like it's a real simple design to have your lids on your tank open inward, so therefore any sort of pressure seals them.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's we were poor kids and we didn't have fancy pumps that would move finished beer nicely throughout the brewery. So there were some times where it's just stacking things on top of them, and thank God for low ceilings. But multiple times where like almost like Atlas, like I would be on top of the freaking manway, pushing on the ceiling. To try
There's
to get
many
the
times
last
that
spirit of beer
I
through
remember
the
walking
system.
into the brewery, like when I first started getting to know Shane really well and getting to know you, and I'd walk in the brewery and there'd be Sean just butt across the manway, like holding the ceiling up and pressing harder and harder and harder, Just transferring beer, and that took a bit too, didn't it?
Yeah, it took a while.
Every brewery has its quirks.
Yes.
Yep.
I don't know that I could really accomplish that anymore.
That's a young man's game.
Yeah, that is a young man's game for sure.
Isometrics.
Yo, seriously.
Yeah. But yeah,
Fuck your Pilates.
yeah, it was really cool to see, especially with the E9, like seeing what that was originally and like how you guys were able to figure that stuff out. Seeing the second iteration of it when you guys got some automation in there, and like Trevor came in there and did some tanks and some controllers, and now it's just a machine.
Playground.
That's
Yeah,
playground.
dude, good
Yeah,
God.
it's awesome.
Yeah, well
Yeah,
deserved.
well deserved. Yeah, put in the work for sure.
So after Big Al's,
Well, I get before Big Al, I worked at two other places before then. I started washing kegs at Schooner EXACT,
that's right.
where I met Mike Murphy, who was head of sales,
Yeah.
and Mike has recently gotten out of the beverage industry. He's thankfully taken some well-earned vacation and just kind of hanging out. Just had lunch with him a little bit ago.
Good for him.
But and then met a bunch of people there that have like gone on to do really cool shit in the brewing industry, like Noah
Schooner was
Schellhammer,
that
who's
place,
at
man.
Cloudburst.
Yep.
Chris Murakami, who's he's head of production at Elysian right now.
Okay.
Man,
Hiawatha, too, right?
Hiawatha, yeah, he's running Capitol Hill Elysian. But just a really solid group of guys that kind of came up together for a little bit.
You guys had
But,
so much
but it was
fucking
a-
talent running.
It was a
through
powerhouse.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was a dream
really
team
cool.
of.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Schooner
But,
had, like it was like the '92 Bulls in there for a minute. Like
Yeah, no,
we were
it
kind of
was-
joking about that, but that's
was a
like
cool
Schooner
time
was
to-
that for a minute. Nobody really knew at that time.
Yeah.
but like there's only been a few breweries really that had that much
Yep.
shit go on, and then everybody kind of like fanned out and then started their own things or contributed to these
Yep.
like hugely impactful
Yep.
beer businesses.
Yep,
It's just
that was
insane.
That was definitely like that time period was something I hold really close to my heart. Like I think was a really cool time to like. I don't know. It was sort of that shift in the beer industry. Like, you know, it was kind of like what do you call it, the second wave or the third wave of sort of like things sort of changing a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, there's some
Yeah.
new breweries that were coming up.
Barrels were starting.
Barrels
to be,
were getting filled.
And the funk was coming.
The funk was on the
more
way.
prevalently.
Yep.
I can't wait to talk about the funk.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about the funk. And then after Schooner, I left to. I was friends with Russell Everett, who owns Bainbridge Island Brewing.
Yeah.
And he tapped me to sort of come out there and help him build it out a little bit and work there for a while. And that was a lot of fun. I don't recommend commuting to Bainbridge Island from Seattle or anywhere else really. And that's back in the day when the ferry still worked.
Were you there when the electricity went out?
In Bainbridge?
Yeah.
Electricity goes out all the time out there. Yeah.
Well, they named an IPA after it, right? The grapefruit,
Oh, did they?
right? Isn't it
Oh.
Windfall or something? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there was always power was always going out there. But yeah, then I went on to Big Al after that, a little bit closer. And then during Big Al is when Holy Mountain was sort of formed and figured out. So but Al was really great about letting me work there while I was still figuring this out, and
Yeah.
awesome dude.
I didn't get to spend a lot of time with Al, but
Yeah,
the little
awesome
time
dude.
I did, he was top notch.
Top-notch dude, for sure.
For sure.
Yep.
Yep.
Is the kitchen music loud because of our guest today?
Yeah, that must be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were at Big Al's right up until 2014.
Yeah, we started building out. We took over the lease for Holy Mountain January 1st, 2014.
Yeah.
And I think I was working at Al's until middle of December, so I had a couple weeks off, and then it was like off to the races after that. So
No shit.
I
yeah,
bring up the music because you named your brewery
Yeah.
after.
yeah, we did. We had another idea for the brewery name, which I'm glad didn't work out, but it got trademarked by somebody else. So always trademark your shit. If you have a really good idea, like the first thing you should do is number one, look and see if it's been trademarked. If it hasn't, trademark it.
Yeah.
Like beg, borrow, steal the money, and just like trademark it and get it. Make sure nobody else gets it. So,
I've got some things.
Get on that, Doug.
yeah, yeah,
We got
Penis
homework.
vagina is one of my, nope, it's one word.
Yep.
Trademarking it.
do it.
Pen vag.
That's how we get.
One I'm
That's how we
working
get
on.
rich. That's how we get rich.
Yeah. Got words.
But we're at my buddy Jerome's house. We're kind of feeling sorry for ourselves, and we're just like, what the fuck are we gonna do? And we'd sort of already had some imagery and artwork worked up for this place. We're gonna call it Wayward. And then we're just kind of sitting around. My buddy Jerome's like awesome homebrewer friend, like close friend 3 years, like awesome musician, plays in a bunch of cool fucking metal bands. And he'd always wanted to make this beer, which is like the ultimate offering from a brewery. It's like, whatever it is, like a big stout or a barley wine or whatever. And he was going to call it the Holy Mountain. And going back to like,
That's great.
if you know the story, like when those guys were recording that album. They basically got a bunch of money from the record company and they blew it all on weed and amplifiers because they wanted to make the heaviest fucking album of all time. Like, who gives a shit about anything else? Like, let's get stoned and just like fucking rip.
Sick.
So I kind of felt like that was sort of our MO in a lot of ways. It's like, let's just try to like, I don't really smoke that much weed at that point anymore, but you know, still just being able to offer, just like kind of put it all on the line and just like bring the fucking heavy, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Weren't you in a punk band in Puyallup?
I was not in a punk band.
Oh, you weren't?
I've never played. I don't like punk rock music
Okay.
very much. Like, sorry, I know I'm going to get lambasted for that. I respect it and I like it. But Mike played in a punk band for a while. My former partner Adam, he owns Floodland right now. He was really involved in like the record scene and like a bunch of bands and stuff like that. So like he was super into that. But no, I can play like Freebird on the guitar and campfire sing-alongs and stuff. But no, we were all super into music and like very influenced by, you know, those imagery from like metal stuff and punk rock stuff and occult and all that. So it was like a really good, you know, start off for sure.
And then you painted your tap room white.
Yeah, well, there's a few reasons for that. One, it was really cheap. And it also just like we just had this like amazing, I don't know, we always joke that we got like the last good deal in Seattle for a building. Like it was just this industrial warehouse, like huge 20-foot ceilings, like these big exposed beams. And we're just like, let's not fuck with this at all. Let's just paint it and like let the light come into it. Yeah. And as Mike used to say, like there's nothing more like metal than like going white instead of black, you know. And it was just like it sort of made sense to do that. You know, we have a couple little things up on the wall now, but it's kind of like people come in there and some people are just like, oh fuck, this is rad, and then some people are just like, well, where's the local artists that are hanging on the wall? Like, why can't I buy their prints? You know, it's just like, well, no,
you can do that everywhere, man.
They do that everywhere, yeah.
It's more metal to not do the thing.
Yeah, but like, you know, we always have awesome music blasting and.
Yeah. And your beers speak for, I mean.
And that was sort of the main thing is like, don't put anything in front of, like, no shit. Don't let it put anything in front of the beer.
That's kind of, I mean, like, it actually kind of matches like the Holy Mountain story. Like, like you put everything into just like making the heaviest fucking shit. Yeah. Like the biggest impact you could with your product, right? Your output. Yep. And yeah, you guys fucking did that immediately.
Thanks, we tried. We were pretty blown away. Like, especially
it was
awesome. It was like, you know, there wasn't like a lot of breweries that were opening at that time with guys. Like Mike was really well known around the area as like a badass sales dude. Like everybody knew Mike Murphy. I'd worked at a few breweries, so I had a little bit of street cred, and there wasn't really anything that was like people were coming up and doing. You know, it was just sort of just like, well, there's a new brewery. Like we don't know where these guys came from, but like, you know. Try it out, but like I think we were lucky to have a little bit of like hype behind us before we opened. Yeah.
Well, that tap room was packed at opening day.
It was, and it was crazy because that was also the day Elysian announced their sale to AB.
Oh my God, that's right.
So yeah, I was so I didn't sleep the night before we opened. We'd had beer out in the market before, and it was really well received. But like opening that tap room was like such a big thing because it took us forever to do it. But my buddy Chris Murakami called me up like early in the morning, and I'd been up all night. I just went to the brewery, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to brew. Like, I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to do what I know how to do. So he called me. I was like done mashing in, and Chris calls me. He's like, dude, like, they just announced our sale to Anheuser-Busch. And I'm just like, don't fuck with me today, dude. Like, out of all days, like, don't yank my chain. And he's like, no, man, I'm serious. He's like, we're all planning on like coming by and hanging out, like, you know, saying hi. Is like, is it cool if we still come by? And I'm just like, yeah, fucking course you can. Like, come on by. So basically, the entire crew of Elysian showed up and supported us that day, which was super rad. Yeah. So it was like
sweet.
Yeah, it was just like it was such a cool, like, you know, just thinking back.
Got
to, like,
4 resumes.
Got some. Definitely got some resumes. Like, hey man, can I talk to you real quick? I was like, I don't have insurance to offer you. Like, you should probably stay with.
Probably should.
Yeah.
I Yeah, it's a whole nother subject, right?
But
It is.
yeah, but no, I mean, we're still.
I had a weird week leading up to that too, man.
Yeah, but the Elysian thing, like, I'm still really good friends with a lot of those guys, and I love them, and like, you know,
It's also hard to ignore a lot of the talent that
You can't
fucking,
fault that though, you know.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying.
We don't speak ill of Elysian or any of those guys. They're doing what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not going to go collaborate or anything like that anytime soon, but I support them, and they know that too. You know,
Also, not leaving the flaming bag of Dookie on the porch step.
no, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not taking shots across the bow. as
No. Yep.
Some other breweries do in Seattle, but
Anyway, on that
We'll
note,
leave
we're
that-
going
we'll
to
leave
take
that
a
up to
break.
No, not now.
We can talk to it when we can talk about it when we come back. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're just opening stuff for the second half. Thanks again for hanging out. And as always, a big thank you to Channel 253. Doug, our wonderful producer, is Channel 253, and they're hugely supportive of the Great and Grain podcast, but they also have a network of podcasts that are all dedicated to Tacoma and our community. So, as we always say, if you want to stay connected, Channel 253 is a great way to do it. So you can support them at channel253.com/membership. I got it. Oh, just the one membership. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's just me being salty that I messed it up for so many weeks. All right. So we ended on shots across the bow. We can keep going on that. Although we just opened a bunch of fresh beer. Ron, what did you pour everybody just now?
Saison Dupont, because I believe this is one of your favorites.
I mean, absolutely, it's one of my favorites. Like, was a game changer beer the first time I tried it.
And
it was kind of the.
It's hard not to imagine it. It's hard to imagine it not having some influence on your guys' like work at Holy Mountain.
Absolutely, like, God, I don't know. I think it was. I'm trying to remember the first time I had a Saison Dupont. It was probably. God. Do you guys remember Larry's Market?
Yes.
Okay. I was working up in Bellevue at this auto shop, and there was a Larry's Market up there. And I remember, like, they had, like, Chimay, Le Fin du Monde, which was, Brewery Maudit.
Yeah.
I think it's Maudit. No, maybe Maudit was one of the other beers. I can't remember the name. It's a French-Canadian brewery.
Unibrew.
Unibrew. Yep.
Unibrew.
And then Saison Dupont. And I was kind of into, I was stealing my dad's Red Hooks for years, like Ballard Bitters.
Yeah, Ballard Bitter.
He was loosely into, like, drinking craft beer or whatever. But
I guess I'm old enough to be your dad.
somebody told me about Chimay, and they're just like, dude, you got to try this. Like, it's like this fucking crazy rich beer, like nothing you ever tried. And I tried that. I was probably like 21 or 22. And then it was just like game on after that. But Saison Dupont was just something that was like
Right there.
something I'd never ever had that flavor before.
Yeah. Dude.
Then you could kind of start seeing it a little bit more. Bottle Works. It's turned on to Bottle Works.
Yep.
And then Brower's open in my. God, I must have been in my mid-20s when Bottle Works open or Brower's open.
Yeah.
That whole like peak of Belgian beer, like not funky crazy Belgian beer, but just like Belgian beer.
Yeah.
Kind of took over. So
Subtle farmhouse.
American
rich
Belgian
Trappist
stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. So
It
that
was
a
easy
pretty
to
cool
drop
time.
the paycheck at Bottle Works.
Fuck, dude. Yeah. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the first expensive bottle of beer that I bought. I think it was like $28 back then or $30, but it was Abbaye de Saint Bonchin. You guys ever had that? It's like a Swiss brewery, BFM, I think, makes it. And it was sort of like this like blend of all these different like crazy barrels that they did. It was just a beautiful beer. I was like, what the fuck am I doing spending $30 on a bottle of beer? Like, this would have been like, 4 cases of natural light or, whatever.
I remember that.
Natty
The
Ice.
irony would later reveal itself.
Yeah.
Bring up the Chimay too, and it was like, $12. Like,
Yeah, but you got it. And like, you know, I can't. I don't think we can get through this without mentioning Stumbling Monk in Seattle. Like,
Hell yeah.
that's the best bar in my opinion. Like, the most important bar in Seattle, and Rob's still important bar for beer.
All right.
I think, and I bet if you asked,
No, we're looking for a clip. Go hard.
I bet if you asked any brewer industry person, I bet a majority
you're
would
probably
agree
right.
for sure.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Yep. But yeah, Rob's just got like this insane fucking cellar of stuff that's like you can't even touch, you know. But just having like a few offerings on drafts and then like, you know, a gigantic bottle selection, it's such a Belgian, you know, thing. So that was an important.
That's what's up.
yeah,
Bar for
that was
sure.
a great place.
It's a great place.
Shane and I got to do a blending class there with Eric Salazar.
Oh yeah, the New Belgium, like
Yeah, did the blending class with Eric.
that was really cool.
That was a good time. It was a better time afterwards too. I think it coincided with the Legion Cask Fest.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, that would do it.
Went from one place.
I think that was like I think Cast Fest was before and then the blending thing was after, I believe.
I remember
Or just went on like
when we did the Eric one. They had the peach whiskey barrel aged Love, and they actually it was an actual wood cask firkin that they were pouring out of, and we're Tacoma kids, right? So before the class, everyone's getting a little pour,
yep.
and then it's like, okay, lunch break. And Eric goes to eat off the cheese plate, and the whole class just kind of swarms him like, you know, the rock star he is. But Shane and I just go up to the bar, and we belly up, and we're just emptying that fucking thing. We're like, bam, bam. Like,
yeah, let's get as
I
much
can
as
drink
this
it
we
faster.
can.
Like,
Yeah.
and then, and then I think it was Legion Cask Fest later, and I think they did by states. So it was, I think that year was California.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think
And
that was such a cool event.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we
both
ended up
of them
hanging
were.
out with Eric and probably getting like better conversation than at the freaking lunch
Right.
table.
And I have to I don't know if you guys talked about this. I haven't listened to the Shane podcast yet, but like E9 was doing these beers like before it was cool. Like no shit.
Oh yeah.
Before like it was even on anybody's radar that these beers existed. Shane was making these beers. Sean was making these beers. They were blending them. They were doing all sorts of crazy shit. So
We talked about how fucking
Unprecedented,
unfamiliar
yeah.
I was. So like 2014 was like I kind of just really in the capacity that I'm kind of in now, just getting back into the industry, right? So I was learning everything. I remember the day that you guys opened. I wasn't there, but yeah, like it was Count Wetzler who was like, yeah, E9 has one of the best barrel programs on the West Coast right now. And I was kind of just getting into this kind of beer anyway. And like my experience with E9 was from like many years ago. I kind of grew up in the brewery. And so I was just like, bullshit. Like, no way. I just wasn't familiar enough. And then it was like that week, I think I tried to hunt down a bottle and I was like, son of a bitch. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot believe how fucking good this is.
Yeah.
I've been drinking like brewery and Cascade and all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and here comes this local brewery. And then it was like not that long after that where like I had friends in New York sending me pictures of bottles that they trade for E9 bottles. And I was like, Jesus, man. But you're absolutely right. That shit was happening here.
Yeah.
Just way before anybody was even hunting down that kind of beer.
and I would say, I don't know, 2007, 2008, would that be too early to say you guys were doing that?
Okay,
Maybe
backwards
9,
math.
10.
Carry the one.
One more barley wine, I bet he could knock that out.
So I got there in 9, so I would say 11.
11, okay.
Well, I mean, things were already going on, but I think we got to play a lot more. I think it took a couple years for the transition to
all
the
right.
X group.
I know Shane was a little
Yeah.
funk curious. Before
Very
that,
he
too.
was funk
I'm
tri-curious.
stealing that. Funk curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and
I remember meeting Shane at what's the first time I met him? It was Brower's Sour Fest with fucking Tim Patty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Former, or I guess still head brewer of Powerhouse down in Puyallup. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who was also a big, like, really cool guy coming up. I got to brew with Tim a few times and go down there and hang out. And, you know, I'm from Puyallup, and it was one of the first beers I had legally. Well,
Was
maybe
it Powerhouse? That's what's up.
Yeah, I went down and got a 2-liter bottle of their Belgian white.
Nice.
They used to fill plastic 2-liter bottles of. I'm sure it was not that great, but fuck it, whatever.
Yeah. It was always nice when you stopped by the brewery. There was some good drinkings and
Oh yeah.
good funk talk and
Oh yeah.
then you know, you got to actually spread your wings. Like, that was fun. It's been fun watching the relationship between you two kids.
Yep. Shane's an awesome guy. We've talked about a lot of different stuff. We've been in remote Alaska together a couple times.
Yep.
Fishing and hanging out and doing all sorts of crazy shit. But
You're a fly fisher.
I am. Yep.
How long you been doing that?
Last probably 8 years, 7 or 8 years. Yep. Kind of an all like gear. I prefer fly fishing, but you know, sometimes you can't catch and release everything. But yeah.
I very fondly remember a lot of the quality time between breweries, and it was always nice to have your company, and it was always nice to drink with you too. Like, that was my favorite part.
Thanks. I think Sean and I got kicked out of a bar in downtown Seattle one time because we were wrestling.
Yeah, it was the whiskey bar.
It was the
wasn't
whiskey bar. Yeah, we got kicked out. Like, I don't know what it takes to get kicked out of the whiskey bar, but we got kicked out of the whiskey bar.
I was gonna say that sounds like kind of a highlight.
Yeah.
And, it was unfortunate because
After Belgian Fest.
it was after Belgian
That
Fest.
would fucking do it. Yeah. Putting it together now.
And I wasn't winning, but I was tiring them out. Like, I was really close to
You weren't losing.
Here's the part where I'm like, I'm gonna fuck them up now.
Here's
and
where,
then,
here's where you
apparently
lose.
we can't just
and I
wrestle.
win.
And
Couldn't finish it out.
did a shirt come off?
I'm pretty sure a couple shirts came off.
Yeah, so we did it right.
Or at least over the top of our heads. Maybe not all the way. But yeah, the Belgian Fest were...
Can't imagine why you guys got 86.
But all in good fun, by the way.
Yeah, very much so.
But yeah, the old Belgian Fest down in the... What were those? Like the
So
cruise
be
ship
down on
terminals
the-
or whatever. Yeah.
Be down on the waterfront was
Those
for
were
a couple
fun.
times, and yeah, that was always Belgian Fest was rad.
Yeah, everybody brought their like crazy shit. And, you know, it was usually pretty high octane.
There's a story.
Say it.
There's a story I was gonna save for
my favorite
possibly having
It's my favorite
possibly
look.
having Don from Silver City on at some point.
Ooh,
But
Big Daddy.
with Big Daddy. So we were at Belgian Fest, and we got our stuff set up, and it was Der Bloken had done a cask
yeah. Okay.
of
All right.
of Belgian beer, and this poor fella. If you're not familiar with tapping the firkin, it's really important that you lead a little pressure off the top first.
So you take a spile, you hammer it in, you let a little bit of air out.
And then there's a
little bit of
porous
CO2
one
out.
that'll allow air to come through so you don't
right.
create a vacuum. So this first part was skipped. And he is just hammering his tap right into it. He's got it upright, and he punctures it, and the amount of pressure behind this thing,
Unbelievable. Yeah.
So the ceilings weren't super high that year. They were a little bit lower. It's just blasting all over the ceiling, the whole thing. And he's trying to put towels over it. And old Big Daddy Don comes over and basically like a fucking grenade, like throws his body over it and pushes
man.
right. But at that point, there's nothing left. And like, it was one of those things, like, it was the raddest fucking thing I've seen, and also, like, I felt so bad for that guy.
Because
it was pretty much just like, pack your shit up and
Yep.
and exit.
There's no recovering from that.
I think we got Don a shirt and toweled him off.
It's a long boat ride back to Bremerton, buddy.
Yeah, it was. How'd the fest go? Good.
Bloking
Sold
is
out
now
fast.
a verb.
Right.
Can I use your shower?
Yeah.
Belgian Fest is always rad, and for a long time there was a big disparity in the quality of. I mean, it was all Washington breweries,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of Belgian style beers. There was truthfully not a lot of good Belgian style beers.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
fucking
There were.
rough.
It was rough. There was some rough
To
stuff.
be
and
truthful,
people are kind of just taking their interpretation of like, which is fine. It's kind of a Belgian way of brewing, is just being, creative and
yeah,
But like, there was some pretty crazy shit though.
yeah.
And it doesn't all have to be a barrel aged quad or
It does
14%
Nope.
golden strong, you know.
When you guys came in, so like, because you were so early out of the gate with like kind of the American wild ale, like fruited sour thing that was, inspired by classic Belgian lambic and old sours. Like, you guys were received so positively initially. Like, did you feel like you were filling a gap that like maybe existed prior to that?
Well, I think when we started Holy Mountain, we were just really surprised that nobody had done that yet.
Like focused
really
on
jumped.
that particular
Right. I mean,
category?
these guys were E9 was for
Right.
sure, but just like in the Seattle area, like
Yeah.
people kind of had, they had their barrel programs, and I never call our stuff barrel programs. I just call it's part of the brewery.
Yeah, it's just
part
the
of our brewery.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just surprised nobody else was really like focusing on it or doing it, because
Sure.
there was still kind of that window when those beers were, not done or not done well. I
Sure.
don't think, but to be able to focus on them, like we didn't know everything when we went into it either. We figured a lot of shit out as we started. Like we had an idea
hell
of some
yeah.
things, but like we knew we had to sort of like create our own flavor and our own our own process with everything. So it just kind of evolved, and yeah, it's been kind of cool to see, how other people have taken it. Fruity kettle sours are a thing, and that's fine. But
Sorry.
we kind of like, we started out like, I think one of our beers I was really excited about was a barrel fermented like Goza style ale, which was super good. It was super cool. And then another Seattle brewery started canning a kettled sour Goza. I'm not gonna say what brewery, but like we're just like, well, fuck that, we're not doing that anymore.
And then they got real popular for it.
Yeah, and then the style just kind of, it was kind of a big thing, but we weren't willing to do that. But, we tried some kettle sour stuff early on, but I don't think anything ever made it into package. It was just like, we just dumped it.
For anybody listening who isn't quite sure the difference in like terminology here, like kettle sour distinguishes like a particular type of beer. So there's a couple of different ways to make a sour beer, but kettle souring is kind of just kind of inoculating your beer with like a bacterial mix that kind of creates different sour flavors. The other way that you can do it is by letting beer sit in a vessel for a long time and kind of letting it naturally develop those acidic flavors through the same bacteria, but with a culture that's either from the air or something that you might isolate in an actual brewery. And so when you say kettle sour, like, it's a little pejorative at sometimes, because like it's especially when you're talking to people who can sometimes take 12 to 14 months to make a traditional sour. Kettle souring can take a very, very short amount of time, a fraction of that.
Yeah,
oftentimes you don't have the complexity or the depth of character.
Cheater, pumpkin eater. No, and I say that only because it's not the process, but second, third wave, when people were starting to put these beers out of traditional souring methods of great quality, folks came in and started doing a lot of kettle sours, but it's not like they were charging appropriately.
Sure.
Like it took us 2.5 fucking years to make this beer.
Yeah.
And you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the other thing too.
But
is
you're
like,
charging like
Yeah,
so
well,
that
so-and-so
that
only
was
charges.
one of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was a little ridiculous.
What's the difference?
right.
And I don't think that's the thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but you gotta keep it where it should be.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
right out the gate, there is a lot of people who are just fucking devious about it.
Sure.
And it's kind of the same thing with like, I don't know, fruited lactose IPAs, stuff like that. Like people are jumping on, striking while the iron's hot and jumping on a trend of, and nothing's wrong with those beers. Like it's awesome that people like them. But yeah, they're just kind of striking while the iron's hot and making those beers and like fulfilling a gap in that market. And I totally understand that. But that was just something we weren't willing to do because like we really wanted to figure out over time like what this would do in the oak and like how it would evolve.
How to babysit a beer and make it do what you want to do over time.
And it does evolve. And like we still dump a shitload of beer all the time. I think
people do not understand how common that is.
No, if you want to do,
how common
if you want to have a big oak program.
Okay, that's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
So it does happen. Like Sean was just saying, like different ways of producing different beers can create crazy price differences, or at least they should.
Yeah.
If you're looking at one raspberry sour and it's $9, and you're looking at another one and it's $4.50, there's probably a reason for that. And sometimes the $9 one can take an entire year longer to make. But the other thing is that when beer doesn't do what you want it to do, especially when you're trying to like sour something in a natural process, in natural oak, in the open air, like you can get really shitty off flavors that you cannot fix, and then all of that time, all of that energy, all of that product goes down the drain. And
but it's also trying not to make it too sour. Also,
right.
Trying to hold back a acetobacter and acetic acid, which is immediately like I'm sure we've had beers out on the market that have gone that way over time. Like that's just kind of the part of the part of doing those beers.
Totally. It's a huge risk.
It's a huge
But then
risk.
when you guys hit a home run, man, I mean, you guys have hit a lot of home runs. Like, my very patient wife has stood with me in line to buy your beer.
Out of all of our barrels, though, like the thing that I enjoy the most are our spirit barrel aged beers.
Dude.
Like, that's kind of where my passion lies. I still love making the mixed ferm stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's been like we could also talk about. Ron, you probably know, like there's probably been a decline in like mixed fermentation stuff a little bit as far as sales.
Yes.
We're still holding strong. We're still doing pretty well with that stuff, but like, I don't think there's an end to like big, gigantic, boozy stouts and barley wines that have been aged in 20-year-old Elijah Craig barrels. Like that's not going to stop anytime soon. And,
I think I can single-handedly help support that. I'll
and
do my part.
We're kind of doing like we do a few more than we do a little more volume than we used to do on them, but we're still not like we're not releasing 100 barrels at a time or anything like that.
Yeah.
Fremont, awesome barrel age program. Like for those beers, like we couldn't even touch that. I'm sure they spill more on the floor than we make in a year.
Then ends up in your bottles.
But they have an amazing spirit barrel age program there. Yeah, and I love those beers, and they're fun. Talk about pastry stouts, like it's a big thing. I'm sure you guys have all had all the crazy hyped up shit.
Yeah. I sell a bunch of it. So.
And they're like, they're kind of fun. They're kind of cool. For us, I think we try to make sure you can still taste the base of those beers a little bit. And we kind of like, we try to be a little, light-handed with stuff and like, a little more subtle with trying to get those things. But it's fun. Yeah, it's fun coming up with just like, well, what are we going to do? Like, I guess we could do vanilla coconut all day long or vanilla coffee coconut all day long. Like, and it's kind of it's really all been done so far with the big pastry stuff. But like, how do people do it?
I know the utilization is always like kind of the fun thing. Like what you could have the same coconut stout or coconut vanilla stout or whatever. In 4 different breweries can make the same beer, but like, what's the difference in process utilization and how did it affect the beer? That's like a fun thing to like sit down and figure out.
Yeah, and I think like how the beer is crafted. I think like mouthfeel is really important and
totally.
Like a lot of those beers are really, really sweet. They're like really, really sweet. Yeah. And like people love sweet stuff. They do. Yep. They can't some of our like double IPAs we made. Some of the favorites have been the sweetest ones that we've made. They finished way higher than any other beers. And we're just like, I don't know if we should really, maybe we shouldn't package that or put it out. And I'm just like, all right, let's put it out and see what happens. And
why
it still tastes good. It's still
Smoothie
Good.
IPA.
People like people like sweet.
Those
summer.
were almost fuck ups.
Yeah, I mean they're not quite, but like it was kind of a cool like social experiment to see.
Sure.
And
How they would actually get received.
I still think they're good beers, but they're a little sweeter than what we normally do.
Sure.
But
I was really just trying to segue into fuck up stories because we're almost out of time.
Oh, sure,
And I know
yeah.
Sean will kick me in the wiener if I don't segue into fuck up
has
stories.
Sean already told his fuck up story?
Was that your fuck up story?
Oh, no. I mean, mine could be saved for another day.
No, you're up, homie.
You're the guest of honor.
Well, I guess I just don't even know where to start with the amount of shit that I've fucked up over the years.
How much time we got? God damn it. Okay, fine. You're off the hook. I'll give you a good one. It involves me almost fucking dying.
Perfect.
Again.
Mudshark Brewing. I was by myself, and we had a 15-barrel system. So height-wise, the tanks they go into a cone, and there is 7 feet of, once the cone starts, just straight vertical to the manway. I was by myself. I was finished cleaning a tank, and I was disassembling the parts to clean them separately. And I dropped the gasket from the manway lid into the tank. And so being a young 22-year-old man, athletic and such, I just dived right into the fucking tank, which very recently had beer and CO2 in it. So there is no oxygen.
Yeah.
My breath instantly goes away,
Dude.
and all the things start sparkling. I grab the gasket, and I chuck it up through the roof, and I kind of run up and I jump, and I think it was pretty much a 3 strikes you're out. Like, I missed it. I missed it.
Oh my god.
Probably didn't have another jump, and I nailed it.
Nailed it.
Dude.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
That's-
hey, parents, keep your fucking kids in sports, because
Don't let your
you never know. Like, it
Yeah.
could save their lives someday. Like,
A fucking
Wow.
nightmare.
well, no,
good
I'm
one. I don't-
unfortunately still here.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that was a good one. I don't tell that one a lot.
those 2 remaining brain cells are still like
Oh yeah,
fighting each other.
Still
right
clanking?
now. They're still
Oh,
clanking.
boy.
Still flashing.
So, Colin, you've never almost died?
Well, I have. Real quick.
Okay.
If you look at Bright Tank 1 in the brewery, if you're looking at it from the tap room, there's a
Yeah.
big dent in the back of it. That's because I dropped it from a forklift. I rolled the forklift over when we were unloading from the truck because it was not the right size forklift.
Oh, shit.
And I fucking bailed out of the forklift, which you're not supposed to do.
No.
But this particular forklift was from 1965, and it did not have a seatbelt on it. So I knew I was either going to get crushed by the forklift, or I'd try to jump out the side while the tank fell. So
God.
luckily, I was
I
okay.
made it.
Yeah, us.
Yeah, because you got to get that tank unloaded. It was one of
Gotta get the tank
one
unloaded.
of our first tanks. So
Gotta get the gas.
wear your seatbelts on the forklift, everybody.
Yep.
It's really important.
Don't chase gaskets into fucking.
Nope.
preventers.
Nope. Cautionary tales.
Thank you. Real quick, one of my favorite things about you is, other than your radness, is like your mastery of beer styles is incredible.
Well, thanks, man.
Like, you really run a broader gamut than most kids will even attempt to do, and you do it very well.
Well, thank
and
you,
I
man.
think that's a really big deal. So,
Dude, thank you so much.
fucking
Thanks,
love
sir.
you. You're badass.
I love you too. And
Thanks for coming down for
Thank you guys
you
for
so
having
much,
me.
Colin.
It was
Yeah, man.
awesome. Like, glad to bring it back down to the south end.
Fuck yes.
What's up? That's what's up.
253.
Ron, we have some events this week, right?
Yeah.
Well, check out TacomaBeerWeek.com
.com.
for all the events happening through Sunday. All right, Grit and Grainers, email us at shares@gritandgrainpodcast.com with your comments, opinions, and whiskey wrestling photos. We read and drink everything we receive, and we try to respond as quickly as can. If not online, then on air, but we haven't had one yet. So please write us.
Yeah.
You can subscribe to Grit and Grain on Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. And please leave us a review. You can also check us out on channel 253 and gritandgrainpodcast.com. Phaedra's taking photos of me. Be sure also to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for photos in high-waisted, beige, pleated, khaki slacks and other things that we wear. If this podcast is not what you expected, please alter your expectations. Certain species of African fire ant can carry 10,000 times their own weight in tiny, bitter ant anks. No such thing as a bad time to visit Tacoma. No such thing as too much barley wine. Tune in next Friday for more sweet chatter. Cheers.
Cheers.
Just getting weirder.
Grit and Grain is part of the Channel 253 podcast network. Check out our other shows: Nerd Farmer, Interchangeable White Ladies, Move to Tacoma, Crossing Division, Citizen Tacoma, What Say You, We Are Tacoma, Flounders B Team, and Taco Man.
This is Channel 253.